Hello, I'm Graham Dale. As I make my comments today, the fate of Sir Keir Starmer as Prime Minister is unclear. However, what is clear is his unwavering determination to reverse the Brexit referendum by deception and downright lies through his so-called EU resets. In speech after speech over recent months, Starmer and his fellow rejoiners in the cabinet have missed no opportunity to extol the virtues of Britain being once again at the heart of Europe. Any doubt about this was set aside by the King's speech that included legislation that will start the formal process of Britain rejoining the EU. This will be achieved through a European Partnership Bill, utilising the dictatorial Henry VIII powers to pass significant constitutional legislation by statutory instrument alone, thereby deliberately avoiding proper parliamentary scrutiny and debate. Starmer's stated objective of putting Britain at the heart of Europe is frankly culturally, historically, geographically, and economically illiterate. President de Gaulle understood this and twice blocked Britain's applications to join the EEC. De Gaulle always appreciated that Britain, but particularly England, with its 1,000 years of sovereign history and independence, its worldwide connections through the Empire and Commonwealth, its Anglo-Saxon roots, its uncodified constitution and common law, and its long-standing transatlantic cultural ties and partnerships, would never be wholly committed to the European federalist dream and would always and inevitably be a source of friction and annoyance. De Gaulle was right. Sadly, we didn't listen to him. Starmer's premiership is nothing more than a Rejoiner Trojan Horse, and he their willing conspirator in its construction and execution. Starmer was always an avid Remainer. He did all he could when Brexit minister, in Jeremy Corbyn's official opposition, in the parliamentary shambles created by Speaker Bercow to frustrate the referendum result, including vigorously promoting a second referendum, innocuously and deceitfully window-dressed as a so-called people's vote, where no doubt the questions would have been carefully framed in favour of Remain, and there would have been mega money to promote the Remain cause. In the established tradition of left-wing authoritarian vote rigging, there would of course be no provision for a best of three third referendum. I think a now politically weakened Starmer is at his most dangerous to Brexit. Cornered as he is and with his tenure coming to a close, he will perceive that taking Britain to the verge of rejoining the EU will be his defining political legacy, his place in history. Having taken us to the altar, it's but a short step for this Rejoiner successors to formalise the unholy realliance through standing at the next general election on a Rejoiner platform, where they would be supported in this dogma by the Liberal Democrats, the Greens, the SNP, Plaid, the parties of Northern Ireland, and those Liberal Democrats masquerading as Conservatives. And please don't ignore the pro-rejoin effects of the brainwashing of school children and students since 2016 by the overwhelmingly Remainer teachers and lecturers that Brexit, bad, EU, good. In this scenario, rejoining would not involve the inconvenience and potential risk of a referendum, as it would be presented as a fait accompli with just I's to be dotted and T's to be crossed, and best achieved through primary legislation, where we don't want the fuss and unnecessary expense of another referendum, do we? In a reference to Monty Python, it's legitimate to ask, what has Brexit ever done for us? I have no problem in answering that question, as the list is very long and very impressive, which is why I get so frustrated and angry to hear Starmer and his ilk trot out ad nauseum the downright lies and misinformation, claiming that Brexit has severely damaged our economy, our living standards, and our respect and status in the world. Nothing could be further from the truth. The first, the paramount, and without question the most important benefit of Brexit, what Brexit has done for us, is the restitution to the British people of our birthright, our national sovereignty as a free, independent nation after it was inveigled from us by conniving, weak, and incompetent politicians more than 50 years ago. This alone was the most important reason to vote leave, as all else that is rightly the responsibility of a sovereign government would follow from it. Nowhere, but nowhere in the case mounted against Brexit by Rejoiners will you hear anything about sovereignty. What's wrong with these people? Are they so ashamed at being British? Are they frightened by self-government? Are they lacking the confidence to govern Britain as an independent nation without the disfiguring constraints of the whalebone corset of EU rules and regulations? Well, anyway, your guess is as good as mine. But I feel ashamed that in Britain we have such unimaginative, inept, insecure, incompetent non-entities running our country. What I ask can be more important to any nation, to any self-respecting people, than to have democratic control over their own lives. To not being the 28th cog in some dystopian Heath Robinson contraption, ruled by some distant, undemocratic, unaccountable foreign enterprise. Too remote, too detached, and too isolated in their well-fed, well-watered, waiting on hand and foot, no expense spared, gravy train of an existence. Why is it acceptable or no desirable for rejoiners to want to be the recipient of rules and regulations handed down by a foreign government and enforced by their foreign court? Do they derive some sort of political S&M from the process? Why throw away sovereignty for supplicancy? I can't for the life of me understand why anyone is willing, or no, anxious, demanding almost, to surrender their democratic rights and become once again subjugated to an effective bureaucratic tyranny. In addition to the all-important imperative of sovereignty, there is the economic reality that clearly demonstrates to all but those afflicted by EU sycophancy and hero worship that Brexit has been of resounding and substantial net benefit to Britain. Notwithstanding the almost complete incompetence of the last Conservative government not to fully grasp the huge opportunities on offer. I will describe all these economic benefits in a separate podcast, as the subject in itself is too large to do justice to it in the time available. Thank you for listening.